It is a common misconception that crocodilians have not changed much since they first evolved. While it is true that modern crocodilians are ecologically similar to their semi-aquatic ancestors from the Mesozoic, some extinct crocodilians changed greatly since that time. Among these was the Australian crocodilian, Quinkana. While Quinkana was similar to other crocodilians in most respects, there were some key differences. Its legs were longer and held in a more erect stance than other crocodilians. This would have increased drag while swimming, but would have made it much easier to traverse on land. Its teeth are also recurved and serrated, as opposed to the conical teeth typical of most other crocodilians and their semi-aquatic relatives. Its tail was also rounder than in other crocodilians, which would have made it a less capable swimmer. Due to these features, as well as Quinkana fossils being found in terrestrial environments such as caves, it is thought that Quinkana lived a primarily terrestrial existence. However, fossils of Quinkana are found in close proximity to what were once aquatic environments. Based on this, some paleontologists have argued that Quinkana was semi-aquatic like other crocodilians. However, even if it did spend some time in the water, its morphology makes it clear that it spent more time on land than any living crocodilian, even the Cuban crocodile. Since Quinkana's semi-aquatic ancestors were restricted to large bodies of water, even if it was fully terrestrial, it makes sense that it was still better adapted towards the areas around these environments than the more arid regions. During the Cenozoic, there were other large, carnivorous, terrestrial crocodylomorphs. One group, the cebechids, were neither true crocodilians nor descended from semi-aquatic ancestors. Another group were the planiocranids, nicknamed the hoofed crocodiles for their hoof-like claws. Quinkana instead belonged to mekosuchine, a diverse group of crocodilians that evolved in the Eocene and lived on Australia and some Pacific islands. While some mekosuchinines were semi-aquatic like modern crocodilians, many others shared Quinkana's terrestrial lifestyle. The namesake of the group, Mekosuchus, has even been suggested to have been a boreal. But despite their differences, mekosuchinines like Quinkana were true crocodilians, descended from the last common ancestor of the crocodiles, alligators, caiman, and gharials. Indeed, mekosuchinines were more closely related to crocodiles than alligators or gharials are. Quinkana itself consisted of 4 different species, all of which are only known from Australia. The oldest, Quinkana maboldi, evolved in the late Oligocene. It was followed by Quinkana tamara in the Miocene. The snouts of both of these species were narrower than the later species. Quinkana maboldi and Quinkana tamara were also rather small, only 2 to 3 meters long. The larger Quinkana barbaria evolved in the early Pliocene. Its snout was both the shortest and widest in the genus. The most recent species, Quinkana fortirostrum, lived during the last ice age and briefly coexisted with early humans when they first arrived in Australia. It was also the largest species of Quinkana, growing 5 to 6 meters long. Along with the huge contemporary monitor lizard Megalania, Quinkana fortirostrum would have been the closest humans ever came to seeing a dragon. Over time, the ecological role of Quinkana likely changed as the genus did. While the specifics of its behavior are unknown, the earlier species likely served as medium-sized predators. On the other hand, Quinkana fortirostrum would have likely hunted larger species. Some of its likely prey, such as the red kangaroo and the southern cassowary, are still alive today, but fellow extinct species were also on the menu, such as the giant kangaroo Prosoptodon, the sheep-sized monotreme Zaglasis hacketi, and perhaps adolescent Diprotodon. While there were other large predators in Australia at the time, such as the thylacine, Thylacoleo, and the surviving saltwater and freshwater crocodiles, the only contemporary predator larger than Quinkana fortirostrum was Megalania. Unfortunately, Quinkana's reign did not last. While the reason for the extinction of Quinkana and other Australian megafauna remains debated, it is often attributed, at least in part, to the arrival of humans. Overhunting was probably not the cause of Quinkana's extinction, at least directly. Armed with only primitive weapons, humans were more likely to end up Quinkana's meal rather than the other way around. Instead, humans may have contributed to its extinction by overhunting the local megafauna or by altering the habitat through mass burnings. It has also been suggested that humans were not the only, or even main factor in Quinkana's extinction. parts of Australia became more arid at the end of the last ice age. As mentioned earlier, Quinkana is only known from less arid environments. Therefore, Quinkana may have lost much of its habitat even without human interference. A combination of habitat loss from both climate change and human-induced burnings would have been a major blow to the species. Regardless of the cause of Quinkana's demise, by 40,000 years ago, Quinkana, along with most of Australia's megafauna, was no more. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something interesting. Have a great day, and if you enjoyed the video, please remember to hit the like button.